A number of years ago, we were called to a body dump at a area for a public housing building. As we arrived, we showed the floor mat into the door to prop it open. Nice and guy gave us a hand and we secured the scene. The deceased has multiple mutilations, but his body slashes, stabs, and burns, even a bit of waffling. Yet his clothes are bloodless. Medical examiner arrives. Body is completely drained. The corpse is fresh as no signs of decomposition have set in. Detectives arrive and this investigation begins. We remove the body and resume our duties. A month later, an arrest is made. Remember that nice kid that helped us with the door? He was a friend of the victim. He and a girl had been drinking with the victim. An argument started between them, so they beat the victim unconscious, tethered him to a chair, and proceeded to torture him for 2 days. After he died, they drew him in the tub, changed his clothes, opened the apartment door, and threw him downstairs. In case you were wondering, there were 911 calls for the period of time he was being tortured. Those apartments are very close together. I would imagine 2 days of torture would make a bit of noise. My girlfriend's grandfather used to be a detective, and it tells a pretty terrifying story. When he was still pretty young, he got a call to an apartment building because a monster was trying to get into someone's apartment. The caller said that they had heard a gunshot and then walls. Later, something was pounding on the door. We'd open it. A monster was standing there and tried to get into the apartment. They kicked it out and slammed the door. The callers said that they had heard more screams from down the hall, so the monster may have been trying to get to other people. When my girlfriend's grandfather got to the building, he found a man shambling around inside, covered in blood. He got the guy turned around and realized that he had found this monster. The guy had attempted to commit suicide by putting a gun under his chin and firing upwards. However, he had screwed the angle up and blown off his jaw and part of his nose, but he was still alive in extreme shock. He had been walking around the building, knocking on doors, trying to get someone to help him. But his Richard had terrified everyone, so they kept slamming the door in his face. I heard the other guy on my beat get dispatched to a wall being checked of an elderly lady. After a few minutes, the guy asked for a supervisor. A few minutes later, they dispatched me to an old lady's house. I get there and the supervisor asked me to climb in through an unsecured window at the back of the house because I'm a smaller stature. I get to the window and tell it's to their bedroom. I can hear a loud television on in another room and I can tell it's Fox News. I yelled, "Police! Someone need help?" As I climbed in through the window, I heard an old raspy voice call, "Hey, here!" I ran out of the bedroom down the hall to where I heard the voice call from. From the living room, I see a lady laying face down in the dining room area. I called for her. "Ma'am, did you fall? Where are you hurt?" I run to her and she's not moving. I touch her hand and it's ice cold. She's dead. It's been so for a few days. I unlocked the door and let the supervisor and the other officer in. I told them I heard a voice and we need to check the whole house. No one else was in there. I know the TV was on, but I could tell it was the news and heard the voice over it. Called to do a wall-being check of an old lady and make entry into her bedroom. Hear a creepy voice yell out. Find the lady's dead body. No one else was in the house. Who the fuck did I hear? This is a funny story. Not my story, but my grandpa's. My grandpa was a police officer back in the day. He worked murder cases and did detective work in his later career. But this late night, he was responding to a call of suspected shots fired at an old abandoned house. My grandpa tells the story something like this. He and his partners are the closest the house of everyone who received the dispatch call, so they made it there first. They reached the house. They found a gate through the backyard forced open, so they followed through. It was the shots fired, so they had the weapon drawn. As they approached the house, there was an unarmed man attempting to enter the house, which was locked. The man fled while my grandpa's partner chased him. Here's the creepy part. My grandpa looks through the window of the house, thinking that maybe his guy is trying to get to someone on the inside. When he looks in, he vaguely sees someone standing and looking directly at him. My grandpa raises his pistol and says, "Police, don't move." Simultaneously, the man inside appeared to also raise his pistol. My grandpa says, "Now I never had someone draw his weapon on me." I began to think, what if I don't shoot before he does? And the adrenaline was pumping. So he says, "Drop the weapon or we'll be forced to shoot." The man stays still, ridiculously still. My grandpa takes cover to the right side of the window and radios in for his apartment, while has the loss of the man on foot. Before his partner returned, he pops back out from the right to try to advance, expecting man to have gone away and found a place to hide. So with his weapon drawn, he jumps out there and looks inside. But when he looks through the window, when his weapon is drawn, there the man is, still hazy, dark, and pointing his weapon directly at him. Silent for what seemed like forever. My grandpa shouted again, "Drop the weapon and get down to the ground," with adrenaline pumping. Grandpa says that at this point he began to believe it's a ghost because it was still how was being. And he sees that Asylum is wearing a badge. "These freak me out," he said. Had my partner made inside was playing with me? Was this man impersonating an officer? Once more, he said, "Drop your weapons and get on the ground," and motioned with his pistol. The ghost man also motioned with his pistol. And at this point, my grandpa says his best. It was a cotton-picking mirror. Got myself worked up over my own damn reflection. And that's the story of how my grandpa almost crapped himself over his own reflection. Told the story before, but it's still creepy. Okay. So, suicide calls always creep me out. Walk into a house knowing you're gonna find a dead body hanging around somewhere is awful. This one was probably easily the worst. I showed up and was the first there, and I went in and found the body was hanging in a kind of stairwell. It was a youngish woman. The worst part was her young daughter was in the house. When I got there, I found the young daughter playing by her mother's feet, which were dangling a couple of feet from the ground. I walked in, kind of froze in shock. I picked up the girl and took her outside. She didn't protest and happily came with me. By this time, another officer and paramedic car had showed up. I left the girl with the other officer. Was a woman with kids of her own, so I assumed she would be better talking to the girl than me. We went back inside with the paramedics, who quickly decided that this woman was definitely dead. They couldn't do anything. Still makes me shiver to this day. I don't know how long exactly the woman was hanging there, but it was probably about a day. The fact that her daughter was there playing right next to her mother, not a care in the world, she had no idea what was going on. It's making me miserable just writing this. This isn't really a creepy story or anything, but just horrific. My dad is a police officer, and about 15 years ago, he was called to a man's house where the neighbors had reported him for a strange activity or something. When he got there, it was about 8 a.m. on a weekday morning. When I was getting out of his cruiser to go to the man's door, he noticed a school bus coming to stop outside a student's house. The school bus put the big stop sign out and opened the door to let the student on. The girl was about 12 years old. She had to walk across the road to get to the bus. As she was walking across the road, my dad approached the man's door. He heard an engine rev and turned to see a sports car blow through the bus stop sign and hit the little girl, sending her body flying through the air. My dad leaped over the steps and applied CPR on her for half an hour. There was no success. She had died instantly, and my dad had to arrest the guy who hit her. Every year, my town hosts a carnival. It's a big deal. Carousels, fair games, Hall of Mirrors, and that stupid trolley swing ride that makes you want to vomit. They will pull out all the stops for this one weekend in October. Growing up, I would get sugar sick, as my mom liked to call it, from all the cotton candy and funnel cakes. I only feel the symptoms after the night was done. Lying in bed, clutching my prizes, I ignored the malice and played back all the festivities in my head. I'll skip the carnival now. It doesn't do anything for me anymore, so I imagine my dismay as my girlfriend Help works the carnival dragged me along one night after all the crowds had left. No lines, she squealed. I even knew how to turn on the Ferris wheel. I tried to look excited. She yanked me over to the shooting gallery and we sat down in front of a counter lined with water pistols. Several bullseye targets hung about 15 feet away. We fired away, but of course, I let her win. I jumped the counter and make my way over to the prize rack. Huge stuffed animals, baseball caps, and t-shirts lined the wall. Which one do you want? I yelled back. He tried to look like she was making a life-altering decision. I'll admit now, he was kind of cute before choosing. I see her without a cell phone and snap a picture of me next to the prizes. I'm stuck between picking you or the stuffed octopus next to the clown head doll. I'll take the octopus. I rolled my eyes and reached past the clown head doll for the octopus. From there, she pulled me over to the carousel. I watched her disappear into the engine control room, and a few seconds later, the pipe organ started and the carousel cranked into motion. During the ride, she felt it was a time for another picture. I really tried to smile. I only stayed at the Hall of Mirrors for a few minutes. It was pitch black in there. We kept bumping into the mirrors and each other. Of course, she snapped a picture in there too. The blinding flash didn't help our disorientation. After the terrifying Hall of Mirrors situation, we decided to leave. She told me she was going to go home and post a picture of the great night. Next morning, I got on Facebook and noticed a small album she uploaded. I started reading through the comments. Lucky bastards. Could have all to herself. Nice. What struck me off guard were the next comments. Love the puddle thumping clown. Who's the dressed up as a clown? Wait, what? I looked through the pictures again and sure enough, there it is. In the carousel picture, there was a tall clown in the background. The speed off the ride would have somehow blurred this image, but I could still see him just standing there, arms at his sides in the Hall of Mirrors. The flash illuminated the face of a smiling clown in one mirror in the corner of the picture. There was only chillingly twisted about his expression. How many times did I collide to him, thinking was my girlfriend? And lastly, there was a picture of me sitting next to the shooting gallery prize rack. There, he was next to the octopus. I grabbed for my girlfriend and thought it was a doll. The realization made me absolutely sick. I was a hair's length away from him. His warm breath probably grazed my skin. What sort of sick delight did I get from doing this? I called my girlfriend was still asleep and asked her if she knew the clown that we hired for the carnival. Her reply made me shudder. They got rid of clowns 5 years ago when parents complained they were scaring the kids. After this whole incident, my girlfriend quit her job at the carnival. We had a bonfire this November where she incinerated the stuffed octopus. She also pulled the album off of Facebook and deleted the pics from her phone. She said they disturb her way too much. What she doesn't know is that I copied the pictures from Facebook and saved them to my hard drive. I'm thinking of posting them here, but part of me doesn't want to relive that night. This isn't really creepy, but when I was about 6 or 7, my family went to Disneyland in California. I was riding Big Thunder Mountain Railroad with my mom. The YS dropped down a lap bar that holds in boat riders sitting in the cart. My mom was already much bigger than me, so the lap bar did not secure me. About halfway through the ride, I slipped out of the seat floor of the cart and was hanging on for dear life as we flew around the turns. The sides of the carts are open. You should have seen the look on my mom's face. She was terrified. I didn't fall out and the ride ended, but I never rode that ride again. Let me start by saying this is not my tale. Believe what I want, but I know my dad wouldn't make this up. This is a story my dad has told and retold several times throughout the years. It's as creepy as now. It was the first time I heard it, so here it goes. It was early 1970s in Des Plaines, Illinois. Packing was not uncommon to hitchhike. My dad and my uncle enjoyed doing this as they were quite adventurous. They were both pretty young in their early teens. They had just gone fishing when they had made their way to a nearby coffee shop parking lot in search of a ride to get close to home. A middle-aged man stopped to pick them up. There's nothing really striking about this guy. She just looked like a typical guy, so they got into the car with him. My dad sat in the passenger seat while my uncle sat in the middle back seat. Everything was fine until the driver reached his arm towards the back of the car and put his hand on my dad screamed home and turned right away. As soon as they came to the stoplight, my dad got off the car, took his brother by the arm, and got the hell out of there. Fast forward a few years, it's 1978. My dad got into a familiar face in the Chicago newspaper. It's the man who had picked him up a few years back. The article states that this man was second after police found 30 teenage males buried in various parts of his home, including the crawl space. The sick man would find teenage boy where they could get to rape, torture, and kill. His name was John Maine Gacy. Needless to say, I'm happy my dad ran as quickly as he did. My dad and uncle were the right age to be one of his victims. It's scary to think of what could happen and how I wouldn't be here today. So, Gacy, even though you're dead now, I'm so thankful you and my dad never got to really meet. So guys, if you liked the video, please subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Or just leave a like. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe and I'll make these videos weekly.